What's up, everybody? It's the Two Nerds podcast. 5 o'clock in the morning. Wow. Hey, everybody, it's me, your friend Nixxiom, and hey, it's Crendor. What's up, guys? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How you doing?
Hey, what's up? It's actually not 5 in the morning.
Yeah, that's actually nice. 10:30 at night.
Well, 9:30 with me.
Yeah, for him.
I got a little time on you.
Yeah, that's right. What's up, dude? How's it going?
Hey, I'm still here, still doing all right, still making videos. I've been making a lot of videos, so I'm pretty happy with that. And
nice.
kind of just having a good time.
Dude, hell yeah, man. Well, first of all, let me say this. Before we get into anything, I just thought about it. First of all, huge shout out to the Two Nerds podcast. I mean, like, we have hit over, I don't even know how many subscribers we're at right now, but I know we have well exceeded that 1,000 subscriber mark at long last.
Oh, shit.
Two Nerds
I didn't even know that.
You didn't know that? Yeah, we're at
1.5.
Yeah, dude. 1,600 subs, because of that, the previous episode. It was uploaded on our main channels, Nixxiom and Wow Crendor.
Yeah.
Now check that out, yo. That's awesome. So thank you, guys. Thank you to all the subscribers and the people that went to crensloth.com and the people that went to the Nixxiom Corner Store, and you guys have been supporting the podcast. You guys have been bringing the energy. Like, oh my God. It's like, it's thunder and lightning and fucking, yeah, dude.
That deserves a dice roll.
Let's do it.
125, not great.
Oh.
Hold on.
It's our future.
344, that's average.
Okay, there you go. That's nice. Yeah, man. Crendor's doing some Warhammer painting tonight, and me, I'm starting on my new leveling challenge tonight.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, dude. But,
great.
Well, actually, do we just want to just dive straight into the topic, or like what do we want to do?
Yeah, let's just dive right in.
All right. You want to present the topic? It was your idea.
Yeah. So we were kind of thinking about things to talk about. We got a few things like, we could talk about this or that. But we were just talking about, Twitch and YouTube. Because in our last podcast, we talked about like what we're doing on Twitch, what we're doing on YouTube, what we're doing just all over the internet. Mm-hmm. And then we were talking about just like different topics with that. We were like, well, we talked about, the pros and cons of YouTube. And we talked about, I don't know, so many different things, but we never really talked about just burning out and how it feels and kind of like what you go through. Because I feel like everybody, whenever they ask, like, how do I make it big on YouTube or Twitch? And like, I have all these ideas and things I want to do, but what happens when that happens? And then you do that for a while and you start being like, I don't have that same kind of passion or energy I had at the start.
Yeah, it's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
we're gonna talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, burnout. All right. Well, you want to take it away?
All right.
You want to start? Tell us. I'll start by asking you a question. This will be good.
Okay.
Tell us about what burnout is to you, and then tell me how you have handled burnout in the past and maybe how you would handle burnout today.
Okay. Well, I can remember. Well, I guess I'll say what burnout to me is first. Burnout is when you lose all that drive and motivation you had at the start. So obviously, getting into YouTube, doing everything, you're like, oh, I got all these great videos, right? I want to make this WoW machinima and this machinima and that machinima and this type of video and that video. And you do that, and you do it for a while. And then all the ideas you had kind of deplete, and you're like, all right, I'll think up some more ideas. So you think up some more, and then you kind of hit that point where you're like, all right, I've kind of done a lot of the things I want to do. And you're like, well, now what do I got to do? But you're like, I've got like an audience now, and like I'm starting to make money doing this. So you got to keep going. And I think that push to keep going is kind of what starts to burn you out, because before you're kind of running on fuel, and then the tank is empty, and you're still kind of putting the pedal to the metal and just being like, come on, you're like, and so you hit this point where it destroys you mentally, I think.
It becomes a job rather than a passion.
Yeah.
And then you have to find a way to put the passion back into the job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think with this type of job specifically, people know when someone's not enjoying it or burning out.
Yeah.
Because you got into this because you're so passionate and enthusiastic about it, and as you start to burn out, I think your personality changes because you go from like, "Yo, here's a crazy video, whatever, yeah, I got this," and then you're like,
What's up, gamers?
"All right, guys, what's up, gamers?"
Yeah.
It's kind of like, "Yo, guys, here's another video. Here's
Yep.
another video," and it just you get that sense of like the soul being sucked out of you.
Yep.
And I don't even know like a specific sign that you see in people. I think it's just you get a feeling.
Yeah.
And I think you can always sense when somebody is kind of hitting that burnout stage. So I would say you just kind of, in terms of like what you actually feel, I would say you don't have the motivation to kind of make videos anymore or stream or whatever. You kind of don't, it's almost like not depressed, but just kind of numb.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're just like, whatever. It's like it almost doesn't matter. You're like, I didn't get views today. I don't care.
I think that, at least for me, I mean, I agree with everything that you said. And just to like add something to it, I tend to find that like when you're passionate about something, whatever that something is, YouTube, writing, drawing, you're always trying to improve it. You're always trying to do something better. And I think that is what people start to see. Like if, like let's say Crendor had a top 10 channel, whatever, top 10 Crendors, and it was like, you're releasing like, tens, whatever, but like there's no drive to make the videos better, like better graphics, better quality, better topics, more creative uses of footage, like whatever. It's just pictures off of Google like every single time, and I think people start to see that. They see that like people naturally can recognize inertia. An object in motion will continue in motion, and like passion is inertia. Like you gotta get it moving, and then once it moves, it just keeps going. And what's interesting about passion is that it can keep growing in its energy. Like you can go from step 1 or like giving like 10% to giving 20 to 50, and I think people see that. Like when you really love a job, you just kind of just keep adding more to it and finding like new ways to be creative. And yeah, so that's what I wanted to add, but continue.
No, I think that's actually a really good point. Because I mean, that's kind of what I was trying to get at. I mean, if you make one type of video series even, and I even can think of an example, like Pointless Top 10. I remember when I first started Pointless Top 10, I would, for the numbers, when I'd be like 10, 9, 8, I used to be like, I would do different voices for it, and I'd be like 7, 6, 5, 4. And then at one point, I just stopped. Yeah. And I was like, I don't have to do that. And then I just kind of stopped. And one time someone was like, I miss when he did the voices for the numbers. And I didn't even realize, I just kind of stopped because I was naturally like, I don't want to do that. Yeah. And then I just kind of blocked it out. But when he actually pointed it out, I was like, oh my God. Like, why did I stop doing that? And so, I mean, that's like one tiny little example of something that is like one piece that broke off of, I guess, my motivation. And those can pile up. That's just one little thing you notice. But maybe, I stopped doing the credit music. Maybe I stopped putting up end slates because I get lazy and I'm like, I don't want to add an end slate. And like all those little things over time, or maybe, they start to pile up and people are like, it feels like he just doesn't care anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guilty of it just as much as any other like content creator on the internet. Crendor loves that word. If you guys
content creator.
If you guys watched the previous podcast.
By the way, I want to clarify. I don't mind. I actually think YouTubers are more content creators than Twitch streamers.
Oh, definitely.
So I don't mind YouTubers referring themselves as content creators, even though I hate the labels. I think that's what I hate about it. But, to me, a Twitch streamer is more of an entertainer and a YouTuber is more of a content creator.
Yeah, YouTubers create content, Twitch streamers create drama. That's how it works,
That is very true.
I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I mean, I personally, let me think of like some burnouts that I've dealt with. I mean, like machinima, like WoW machinima is, I guess, a good example of this. I talked about in a recent video over on my YouTube channel about how when I first got into YouTube, my big passion was making WoW Machinima. And I was making it, and then I met Mukluk, and then me and him started making Machinima together for the longest time. And then eventually Mukluk decided, he wasn't really interested in, being an online YouTuber or anything anymore. He wasn't interested in the Machinima or WoW or anything. And so, he just stepped away from that. He was like, this doesn't really interest me anymore. And I sort of lost my partner, and so I lost my interest in making Machinima. And at this point, I'd gotten to a point where I had made so many Machinimas, like I kind of wanted to do something different anyway. Like my real passion was just making videos and entertaining people. And so for a long time now, and this is what my video was about, for a long time, I feel like I've sort of dealt with a little bit of a burnout, where I've sort of felt like, I have to make a Machinima, because like that was what I was known for in the beginning. Like I have to. And for that reason, like I sort of didn't let my creativity flow, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I felt like, there's no point in investing a ton of energy and like love into this new project, because it's never going to be as successful as the first projects. But that's not true. So yeah, so I mean, I feel like I personally have been coming out of a bit of a burnout. Sort of, because I mean, I've wanted to make content, but I've just been limiting myself, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later on in this episode, because I've got some advices to share with people based on my own experiences. But how have you dealt with burnout in the past? Like, and it could be like a very unwise way to deal with it. And then how would you burn out, or how would you deal with it today?
All right. Well, first off, I wanted to mention the WoW Machinima part, because that's one of the things we have in common that I feel like not many people have in common, is that we both kind of used WoW Machinimas to grow.
Yeah.
And so because of that, we both share that initial viewer experience of, I started watching you because WoW Machinima.
Yep.
And so we both had to deal with that, like, but now I want to branch off from that. How do I go about doing that? So I think that's kind of where we bonded in a way.
Yeah.
And I would say with WoW Machinimas, one thing I actually learned is that I still like writing WoW Machinimas, but I don't like the rest of the process, the editing, the filming. I like doing the voices. I actually don't mind doing all the voices and stuff. It's just the editing and filming that just grinds me down and just demotivates me.
Yeah.
And I've actually always been like that, but I used to be able to power through it and be like, whatever. I mean, that's the reason I used Microsoft Paint for scenes I didn't want to film. I was like, I'll just draw it. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But it's like a funny way, right? I was like, whatever. It's still, I just like getting the stories I write across. And so some people be like, why don't you get an editor? Why do you do that? And it still, even though I could get an editor, I just feel like it takes something away.
Yeah.
And that's why I never do it. I'm like, either I want to do it or that's it. Like,
yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. So I'd say initially when I burned out, I think I would just stop making videos and just stop. I don't even really know, because I think back then is the initial WoW Machinima thing where I was trying to branch off and people would be like, where's the Machinimas? Where's these things? Where's that? And I would just, I don't even remember what I did, but I know I stopped making videos for like brief periods, and I would just, go for a walk, or I would talk to friends, or I would, drink, which is a bad one.
I would drink.
Drink. And it's, I don't know, it's like anything where if you lose the passion, I think the worst part about it, I think what makes it difficult to talk about is like, it feels like you need to do that thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're like, this is what brought me here. This is what people want. Like, I have to do this. And the fact that you don't want to do it is what kind of drives you insane. Because you're like, I have to do it, but I don't want to do it. And so you just put it off, and then it eats away at you.
Oh, yeah. I can 100% relate to that.
Yeah. And I would say back then, those were the types of things. I didn't really know how to deal with it, so I'd never really dealt with it. And I think that was the problem. And I'd say now I deal with it by diversifying. And I think having my, my stream, my YouTube, my Warhammer channel, and like ASMR and podcasting, and like I branch out enough to where I can, if I do a video, I'm like, all right, I don't have to worry about videos for another day or two, and I'm just going to go do a podcast, or like, now I'm going to go do my stream, because everything is different. And back then, it was just YouTube, and that's it. And I think that's one of the biggest differences now.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, for me, in the past, if you're done, that is.
Yes.
Okay. For me in the past, I would say that, first of all, I can totally relate. That whole like, I feel obligated to make X, Y, and Z, and it eats you up. And because, you want to entertain people, that's why we kind of do this, because I think anyone who's a content creator, like whether you're a Twitch streamer or a YouTuber, there's sort of this pleasure that comes from making people happy that like we all have. It's like, like we genuinely like reading the comments, like, wow, I really enjoyed your stream. Wow, I really enjoyed this video that you created, like blah, blah, blah. Like it's good. It's intoxicating. It's like a drug. And when you're not delivering on what the people want, whatever that might be, you're not getting that drug, like that satisfaction of like, pleasing other people. And ultimately, it can really depress you, like a lot. And I've been there. And in the past, how I dealt with this, when I was like first kind of growing on YouTube, and I was experiencing feelings of like just writer's block, feelings of burnout, feelings of whatever, it was like I just sort of got angry, I guess, and I would sort of just force content. I would just force out like this, that, whatever, like whatever I could think of. However, nowadays, especially recently, as I've had time to kind of go back and think about things, I would say that the first step, these are my advices. The first step is that if I'm experiencing a feeling of burnout, or I'm experiencing a feeling that I was talking about, like that whole like, you want to please the audience, but at the same time, you got to balance it with pleasing yourself and what you want to do. Otherwise, everybody loses, right? The first thing that I would say to do is get away from the job. For me, I go out in nature. Like I go out in the woods, and I look at my job and I think, like, what's the exact opposite of what I do? And it's like, being out in the woods and stuff. That's where I go. And I'll go out there and I'll meditate and I'll sit and I'll ponder and I'll think about things and reflect. The next thing that I would recommend doing is look at maybe like if you're experiencing the kind of burnout where you feel like, I have to make this kind of content, but I don't really want to. Look at that content and be like, what is it that people enjoyed about it in the first place? It was funny. It was, it told a story. It involved like, a cast of characters, making a reference to a machinima here. And then be like, well, can I do that, but with something else, like something new? Could I theoretically create a story-driven, multicast, funny video that is not a machinima? And if the answer to that is yes, which most likely it is a yes, then so be it. I would say, like, maybe if you're a writer and you're dealing with like writer's block or burnout, and you're like, oh man, like I really don't want to write the next Game of Thrones book. Shout out to you, George. Like, and you're dealing with that writer's block, maybe just be like, okay, what is it that people love about my books? Like, they love all the characters and they love that they don't know what's going to happen next and they're always on their toes. Could I write something completely different or tell a story in a completely different way that fulfills the things that the people want? Maybe you could write like a detective story in that case, or I don't know. And you just start exploring new ways to reignite that passion. That's what I mentioned earlier. It will become a job, or the passion will become a job, and then you need to find a way to take passion and put it back into the job until the job becomes a passion again. And this is like an infinite loop that will continue, because eventually even that new thing that you're doing will start to feel like a job, and then you just got to do it again. And one thing that I guess I've learned recently is that, number one, if you're burnt out on something, don't force it. Like, don't, because people can see it. Crendor talked about that earlier. They can see it in your book if you're not enthusiastic about writing your book, George. All right? Like, they can see it, Crendor, if like if you force a machinima tomorrow and it's nowhere near the quality tier of your previous ones. Like, and they'll say that. Like, oh, this isn't as funny. Like, this isn't as well edited. Like, hey, what happened to the voices with the numbers? Like, people will see it. They'll pick up on the differences. And it's just because you're not passionate about it. And the thing that's going to stop you, because I know what people are going to say, because it's the same thing that I've said to myself many times. The thing that's going to stop you is that you don't want to do something different. You sort of become content with where you're at. You're in your comfort zone. You're a top 10 channel. And you're only making top 10s. But the issue is that no one's watching your top 10s anymore. So what do? Well, you just keep making top 10s. No. You got to change. You got to do something different. I know it's scary. But, like, listen, all the best things in life are fucking scary. It's intimidating. And that's kind of the point. I've sort of learned recently with some of the books that I've read and the experiences that I've had that, that fear that's going to keep you in the burnout, that fear that's going to keep you in the writer's block, that is like fear is such a powerful emotion, and it'll hold you back like your entire life if you let it. It'll keep you in your comfort zone your entire life, because let's be real, the human mind only cares about, like, it doesn't want to expend energy. It doesn't want to, all it needs is food, water, shelter, and it doesn't need anything beyond that. It doesn't need to branch out and create new content, So long as the bills are paid, who cares? It doesn't need, $10 million. It doesn't need this stuff. But the thing is like, you're different. Like the one listening, like, you're different. Like, you want that. Like, you have that energy. It's buried. But the only thing that's holding you back is that fear. And so, honestly, in my opinion, if you encounter a bit of fear, like, oh, I don't know if I should do this, like, this kind of intimidates me a little bit, like public speaking or with releasing a new kind of content on your YouTube channel or something, do it. Like, genuinely do it. You'll surprise yourself.
When I made Fishing with Crendor, I always wanted to do an interview show.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I got an idea. I'm going to fish with people in WoW and, like, interview them. And that was my great idea, and I loved it. And then I just never did it. And then I remember, like, maybe like almost a year went by, and somebody was like, when are you doing Fishing with Crendor? And I was like, oh, pretty soon. And then it hit me, and I was like, why am I not doing Fishing with Crendor? And so I just, out of blue, was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And so I just did it. And then, it just got the ball rolling. Sometimes you just got to, push yourself to kind of take that step towards a new project.
I've found that, like, I was reading a book, or I actually just finished a new book yesterday. It's called The 10 Times Rule. And in it, the author, who is like this business guy, he's talking about, near the end of the book, a lot of the experiences that he's had in his life as like a business owner. and, you know, being self-employed, hiring people, whatever. And the interesting thing is we tend to look at these people upstairs as like these fearless, like unstoppable machines that like aren't intimidated by anything. But he's very quick to, like, in his book, he's like, this is not true. Like, the guy owns multiple companies, multi-million-dollar dude, and he's like, I'm terrified whenever I have to make a phone call and like call somebody. I am afraid when I have to fly somewhere for a meeting that I am not 100% comfortable with. Like, he's like, I'm terrified every single day. Like, when I have to face a new like guy to potentially hire, like, it's intimidating for me. But the thing is, anytime, his advice was, anytime that you encounter something that like you're afraid of, and this is interesting because I've learned this recently, or relearned it, I should say. I'll tell a story in a second. If you encounter something that you're afraid of, so long as you're level-headed, especially when it comes to like your life, you should do it, because it usually means that you're looking at a good opportunity or just an opportunity. And I'm going to tell a short story, unless you want to say something real fast.
No, you can tell the story. It's fine.
All right. So a long time ago, my YouTube audience actually reminded me of this. Shout out to you guys. When I was a bit younger, I was in college and I was taking my literature class. And I remember I read a story about, it was just a very short story. And the author, if I remember correctly, he lived in England. And he was talking about when he was a kid. He was probably about 15 or 16 years old. His good friend, we're going to call him David for the sake of the story. His good friend David came up to him and said, hey, dude, me and my dad, we're going to take like a plane trip to South America, I think like Argentina or something, for like a month. And we're going to spend some time over there. Do you want to come with us? And he was like, oh, yeah, like definitely. That sounds awesome. I've never even traveled outside of England before. All right. So he was like, all right, well, we're going to leave in like 3 months. Okay, cool. So what happened? Well, here's the funny thing about fear. It starts as a spark, and then it will grow into a fire if you let it. So what happened is he was really excited, but as the days continued, he started thinking about it more. And he was like, well, you know, like I'm gonna be in this foreign country. I'm gonna be all on my own with like my friend and his dad. And you know, I don't even know his dad that well. I just know David because he's my friend. You know, do I really trust his dad? And you know, am I going to be comfortable around this father and son? And you know, I don't really speak the language. Like I like blah blah blah. And then eventually, the fears became excuses. They were like, oh well, you know, like I you know, I got schoolwork to do, and you know, I want to go do this instead. And you know, my mom needs help here, so maybe it wouldn't be a good idea for me to go. You know, fear will quickly go from fear to excuses to just inaction. And then eventually he went to his friend David one day. It was about like a month before they were going to leave, or a few weeks. And he said, hey, look, yeah, I really can't go. And David was like, all right, like no big deal. So David went to their other friend. We're going to call him John because I don't remember the characters' names. He went to John and said, hey, John, do you want to come? And John was like, yeah, sure. And so they went. David, John, and David's dad, they all went to South America, to Argentina, wherever they went, and they had an awesome time. And they brought back all these photographs and stories and whatever. And here's the author, as a young man, sitting here now listening to these stories of all the cool people that they met, and like the music that they heard, and the foods that they tried, and the landscapes that they experienced. And he sat there, and he came up, or he realized something, a really important lesson. And it's something that I used to, speaking for myself here, this was something that I really embodied, and it's how I avoided burnout, but it's just something that, you know, you kind of just forget it, and you need to be reminded sometimes. And it's just simply this: always do what will make you nervous. Do not do what will make you depressed. And that's it. If you're afraid of public speaking, get up on the stage. Yes, you're nervous, but that's good. It means that what you're about to do has value, you know. But let's say you go through it your entire life and you never learned how to public speak. You never got out of your shell. You're just going to be depressed. And is that the life that you want? And if the answer to that is no, I don't want that, then look at your flaw, in quotes, in the mirror, stare at it, and say, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to defeat you. And that's what you do. And so when it comes to writer's block and, burnout, I feel that a lot of burnout comes from repetition and doing the same thing over and over and over. And then there's that intimidation of doing something new, that intimidation of expressing your creativity. And I get that. I understand how that feels. And I know Crendor understands how that feels. And I think any content creator knows how that feels. Like even Asmongold, when people were wanting him to play other games, he was intimidated to do that on stream. And eventually he just went back to WoW. And I know that we all have that in common, even people that don't make content. But it's just like, do you just want more of the same? Or do you want like the opportunity for growth? But if you want the opportunity for growth, it's going to come with a little bit of fear. But if you can kill that, if you can conquer it and leap over it, there's no telling where you might end up. You might even end up on the other side of the world in Argentina. So that's my story.
That's a good story.
Yeah, dude.
I was gonna bring it back to kind of getting into, I guess we'll tie it into machinimas and stuff.
All right.
I wanted to talk about just kind of reigniting the spark.
Okay.
Because I think that's another big thing. So I noticed one of the best ways for me to get motivated would be to just go back and kind of watch my old videos.
Okay.
And so when I would go back and watch my old videos, I'd be like, oh my God, that was actually a really funny one. I like that one. Or I'd be like, oh, I remember writing this. And then when I would do that, it kind of brought me back to why I initially got into it. Mm-hmm. And, why it kind of realigns your sight, because at the moment you're seeing it like that job where you're like, I have to do this. People want me to do this. And that's it. But when you first got started, nobody cared if you did it or not. Mm-hmm. It was just you wanted to do this because it was fun. And so you wrote it and you voiced it and you made it, and you didn't have to, but you did it. And so it kind of takes you back to that, I think. And I mean, that could go for anything. It's not just making videos. Like that could go for, I did that with Warhammer, because I remember when I first got into Warhammer, I was going crazy. And then that kind of slowly burns out over time. And then, I'd like go back and watch some of my old stuff from when I first got into it, or I'd read some of the old Warhammer books and I'd reignite it and I'd be like, oh yeah, no, I get it. And it'd motivate me. And I mean, that can be said for even relationships. Mm-hmm. Like, look how many people burn out in their relationship. And a lot of times they're like, hey, what if we go back on a date to where we first met, or like do something we did a long time ago, or something we used to do. And then, all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, this is why we're together. And I think sometimes you just need that reminder to kind of put you back in your place.
I remember I read an article like some time ago, and it was about relationships, and I might misquote this because this was a long time ago, but it was talking about how, and this does relate to burning out, you'll see what I mean. In terms of relationships, people that tend to stay together longer are people that share new experiences together on the regular. Doesn't have to be like every day, but like maybe every few months, it's like, oh babe, like, you want to like just go to this restaurant that we've never eaten at before? Yeah, sure. And then you go there. Or you want to go on a vacation to this place that neither of us have been to before? Yeah, sure. Because honestly, like, I'm about to say something that like, I think, well, actually, do I want to say that? Because I feel like it's going to create some controversy. I think that true happiness in oneself, in one's relationships, in whatever, it will always come from stepping out of your comfort zone. Because happiness is not found in the... what's the word I'm looking for? The mundane,
contentment,
the repetition, the contentment. some people are content. Some people, I know I'm about to generate controversy with this. Just my opinion. All right, chat, here we go. Some people sit and they will sit and say that the key to happiness is simply to not want. Like, to not want to do anything. Like, oh, I don't travel. Don't care about money. Don't care about becoming physically fit. Like, just embrace this carefree attitude, one with nature, one with the cosmos. You might as well be dead. Like, why not? Like, if you're not going to do anything, if you're not going to grow like a flower, then get pulled out like a weed. That's what I think. So,
Well, I would even take that a step further and say we want that. A lot of people want that. They just haven't kind of started down that path towards growing towards something. I mean, like one of our biggest, movies and like books and things we enjoy is the hero's journey.
yeah.
And we enjoy it because it's a person that starts at one point and they go on a journey and they grow as a person and they learn things and they better themselves or they accomplish something. And by the end of it, they're like, hey, you know what? At first, I didn't want to go on that journey, and now I'm happy I did.
Exactly.
And I feel like that doesn't have to be like this grand adventure. You know, it could be as simple as being like, I want to go to a convention. Like, I want to go to PAX East, but I don't want to travel. And so, just getting on the plane and going there and being there and then coming back, that could be your journey. Like anything, really. I mean, it could be simple things like, I'm scared to make a telephone call, but you know what? I'm going to pick up the phone and call and do my thing. And by the end of it, you'd be like, you know what? I did it.
I think, oh man, I lost my train of thought. I know that there are people that would disagree with that and that would disagree with what I just said. But I would argue that it's sort of like, it kind of goes back to that fear thing that I was talking about. Everybody wants something. Like, they want to, even if it's just a log cabin out in the woods to call their own, like, everybody wants something. And sometimes it's like you get to a point where you just have so little self-faith that you just say, oh, no, it's bad that I want this thing. Because if you had like that faith in yourself, then you would know that you can get it. But like, because you doubt and you're like, oh, well, there's no way I'm going to get that, you just convince yourself that it's good that you don't want it, but you actually do deep down. And then you have to spend like an entire life of meditation trying to like purge yourself from that want, from that desire. And I don't think that's good. In my opinion, I don't think that's healthy, because in my opinion, the reason why I'm saying all this is because I've met a lot of people all around the world who have so much talent. People that have been great writers, like musicians. My one friend was a magician, and I'll use him as an example. My one friend's a magician. He spent years studying magic. Like, he loved magic. Like, that was his thing for like so long. And I was doing YouTube at the time. Like, I was, growing, and he was like just learning more and more magic. And then, we would talk about like he even knew like some professional magicians that like did shows and stuff all around the country, who had been on television, blah blah blah. And one of his friends, a very good friend of his, actually was on Penn and Teller Fool Us, for those of you that know what that is. And he actually fooled him. And I remember we would always talk about him becoming a professional magician. And one day he got his first gig, and he performed at a school, and he made really good money. Like, they paid him like $200 an hour to like perform. It was incredible. And, he walked away with like a lot of money in his pocket, and he was really like proud of himself, and he really wanted to do more. And I was like, well, awesome, dude. And then what happened is I was leaving to go to Europe at the time. I was going to Finland for 2 weeks. And I left and I told him, okay, by the time I get back, you need to have at least 3 new gigs lined up for you to perform at. And he was like, okay. So I left and I came back and I was like, all right, so tell me about these gigs. And he's like, oh, I didn't actually go and look. And then I was like, oh, well, why not? And he's like, oh, I just didn't have time, whatever. Then suddenly the conversation started. It's really hard, performing in front of people. Like, I get nervous. Oh, what if I mess up, with a trick? What if, someone boos me? Or what if this is all just a waste of time? Like, what if, I never actually make it? What if I never can actually make a living from this and I wasted my time? I'm just going to go back to school to be an accountant. And I watched that passion die right in front of me. And now, when I talk to him, I haven't spoke to him in a few months. That's not true. We hung out a month ago. And I ask him, so, what about your magic? And he's just like, no. That's for kids. That was a childhood thing of mine. That was just silly. That was a waste of time. And I just watched passion die. And I'm like, dude, and he's not the only one. I've seen it happen in so many people. And it's like, dude, don't let the passion die. And I don't know if you agree with this statement, but I think that burnout is inevitable. It's going to happen. No matter what you're passionate about. I mean, you could literally burn out from fucking having sex. It'll get boring.
Yeah.
You do it all the goddamn time. But man, it's boring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can happen. And so I think that the way truly that you fight the burnout is that you do new things, you set new challenges for yourself, and most importantly, you don't let fear and excuses like, oh, what if my card trick fails, or what if this, or blah, blah, blah. You don't let that hold you back. Otherwise, you will remain burnt out forever. And then eventually that ember, that passion, that fire will fizzle and die.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, I think you're 100% correct. I would say even, thinking back to my own videos and stuff, whenever I would feel unmotivated to make a machinima or a video or something, I would always be like, okay, instead of delaying this, instead of being like, I'll work on it tomorrow, or I still have to do some other stuff, I'd be like, I'm going to write the script, and I would write it. And then I was like, okay, I got that far. And then, because that was always my favorite part, was writing the script.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can do that. And then I'd be like, okay, what if I just do 5 voices? I'll do 5 lines of the script, voiced. And so I would do that. And once I got going, it would always come back to me. And I'd be like, oh, I can keep going. And then I'm like, okay, now I'll film a scene. And before you know it, you've got something to work with. And I'm like, okay. And all of a sudden, an hour ago, I was like, I don't want to do this. And now I'm super motivated and doing it. So I think you definitely have something where if you just kind of sit there and kind of dwell on your thoughts, it'll eat away at you. And I think if you just give yourself a little push to do just anything involved with it, that's one of the best steps you can take.
Yeah, you're quoting the, I believe it's called the 20% rule, or it's a technique. Where, let's say you have to do the dishes, but you're like, I don't want to do the dishes. What you do is you just say, all right, I'm going to go and I'm going to wash one dish, just one plate. So you walk over there, you grab one plate and you wash it. And because you already washed one plate, you're like, well, I might as well finish. And then you just do the whole thing.
Yeah. And then once you do that, you're like, well, now I might as well sweep and vacuum. And,
exactly.
Before you know it. And it's, it's a great technique. Because it's looking at the small picture instead of the big picture. It's like, oh, I have this pile of shit I have to organize. And obviously you look at that and you're like, I don't want to do it. But if you're like, hey, do this one thing, you're like, all right, that's not too bad. I can do that and not have to expend that much energy. And then once you do that, it kind of tells your brain like, hey, that wasn't too bad. And before you know it, you're just cleaning.
Yeah, dude.
Or editing or streaming or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I'd actually did that with streaming the other night. I was like, you know what? I wasn't going to stream because I was like, I don't feel great. But I was like, no, you know what? I'm going to stream for 20 minutes. I was like, because there's this notion that if I only stream for 20 minutes, I feel like it's not worth it. Like, I'm like, people will be like, it was only a 20-minute stream. That sucks. When really, I'm like, you know what? Any amount of stream time is good.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll stream for 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, it became 30 minutes, then became 50 minutes, then became an hour and 20 minutes. And I was like, oh my God, I've been streaming for like an hour and a half. And then I was like, all right, well, that was fun.
I've never actually thought about that before, like in regards to streaming. Because, yeah, if I sat there when you were talking and I was like, would I ever do a 20-minute stream? And I'm like, man, it would just be like literally like you hit the go live button and then it's like, hey, guys, what's up? Like, I mean, my outros are 20 minutes long. Hey, guys, make sure you go to Nixxiom's Corner Store, blah, 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 hit the follow button, all that crap. Like, I could take 20 minutes just doing that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just 20-minute stream challenge, and then it'll turn into something bigger.
Yeah, because and even if it only was 20 streams, is that really a bad thing? I don't think so. I think if any amount of stream time can be good. Somebody might be like, oh, like a 15-minute stream. I'll watch the VOD of that. That's pretty easy to watch.
That is true. That's a good point.
Yeah. So it's almost like our brains feel obligated to be like, well, I got to entertain a lot of people. And if I only stream for this long, a lot of people might get the notification. They click it. They're like, oh, he's gone already. Like, I don't care. So it's, I don't know. It's weird how many little hoops your brain jumps through to be like, don't do this thing.
Or you can switch it around and you can create the, you can follow the 10 times rule, which is where you say, okay, I got to stream today, but I don't really want to stream or something. All right, well, how long were you originally planning on streaming? An hour. Or I think I can only do an hour. All right, do 10 hours. Do a 10-hour stream. Oh my God. And then suddenly you're like, oh, all right, well, what am I going to do for 10 hours? I guess I'll start by playing WoW, then I'll play some Minecraft for a bit, then I'll do just chatting, blah, blah, blah. And then most likely you're not going to do a 10-hour stream. You're probably going to hit about 6 hours and you're going to be like, okay, I'm done. And then you're finished, you wrap up. And then you're going to look in the mirror after you're done and be like, oh my God, I just planned to do a 1-hour stream, but I just did 6. So that's the 10 times rule.
Huh. I haven't heard of that one.
Yep. So if you set a financial goal, I'm going to make let's say you're probably someone listening to this is working an average 9-to-5 job. Maybe you're like, I'm going to make a website and I'm going to make I'm going to try to make $100 of passive income a month. Now I want you to try to make 1,000. And then it immediately starts tapping into your deeper creativity, because suddenly you're not thinking in terms of oh, just 1,000. You're thinking in terms of 10,000 now. And you're thinking, oh my God, well, okay, how can I make 10,000 a month on my website? And that's what takes a small business to corporate level, when you start thinking bigger. And you just don't stop.
I just had an idea where,
oh boy,
I remember at one point a few years ago, I was kind of at that point where I was like, I'm kind of feeling the burnout. I wasn't really motivated. And I was like, I know what I'm going to do. I went to the library and I just brought a notebook. I didn't bring a laptop or my phone, or I just brought a notebook because I didn't want any distraction. And I was like, I'm just going to sit here and look out the window and just write. And I was like, whatever I want to write. It could be a story. It could be ideas, whatever. And I remember I just wrote, I wrote a machinima that day. It was a something in a minute. It might have been Legion in a minute. And then I wrote some ideas for something else and something like that. And that just remotivated me. So it's oh, cool. I got some ideas and something planned out, and it's not just floating around in my head.
Yeah.
And so I think writing stuff down is actually one of the, it's a really good way to kind of help with burnout and kind of put your ideas on paper.
Yeah. I mean, another thing that you could potentially do, I mentioned earlier this whole idea of stepping away from the job, but something that you can do is you can actually bring your job to an unfamiliar place. So for me, even literally today, what I did is I went to the park near my house and I brought my notebook and I sat down and I started working on Nixxiom stuff at the park. And I was writing down, okay, future video ideas, what I want to do, like, leveling challenge ideas. And I figured out so much good stuff. Like, I was like, oh, I'm really proud of this. This is really good. So sometimes, kind of like what you're talking about, putting yourself in an unfamiliar setting or just a new setting and taking your work with you can really inspire you. And I mean, honestly, I would love it. Like, if in some way I could like work on Nixxiom videos like at the park or something, like that would be so cool. But I kind of need like my big editing computer, which is this one. But if I ever get to a point where like for example, if I'm making like simpler videos, I mean, I could probably edit them on like a half decent laptop. So I mean, I could get a nice laptop and take that to the park and sit and like edit videos in the park. And like, how cool would that be? Like, I'm enjoying nature, and you're also making bank like at the same time,
Yeah.
Like, it's like all you need is a blowjob and it's perfect. You got the Holy Trinity. So, that's it.
I was actually thinking of painting my Warhammer guys like outside. So I was like, that'd be really cool. It's like sit outside by some trees and stuff and just paint a Warhammer dude.
Yeah. Repetition creates burnout.
Mm-hmm.
If you keep painting the Warhammer guys on the same table, under the same light, with the same brushes in the same room, you're going to burn out a lot faster than if you were to, I'm just using you as an example, than if you were to paint the Warhammer dudes in different locations and different places and different techniques and blah, 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 and just adding that creativity like to it. You're going to slow that burnout down a lot faster, chat.
I think that's actually probably one of the best quotes I think you've had is repetition creates burnout.
Yep.
That's extremely accurate. And I think a lot of times I've actually dealt with it by changing up my office area. I'd be like, you know what? I'm going to put my computer on that wall now. Mm-hmm. Or like, I'm going to move this plant over here. Like, I'm going to get a new painting or like something to put on the wall. Like, I don't know. Just changing up your workspace or changing up your computer environment, even changing your desktop background. Like, just anything.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, so, I mean, and listen, Nerd Nation, hear me. I know it's going to happen. Like, some of you guys listening to this, one day you'll be an author, or you'll be your own YouTuber, or you'll be your own Twitch streamer. And I know it's going to happen where you're going to and Crendor can relate to this, so I'll use what me and him have in common as this example. Crendor used to make a shit ton of machinimas. I used to make machinimas all the time. We moved on. And people sat, and they still to this day leave comments on your videos, my videos, whatever, saying, bring back the machinimas. We want more machinimas, blah, 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 all that stuff. My friends, Nerd Nation. Like, it doesn't matter if you make 100 machinimas or 100,000 machinimas. The consumer is always just going to want more. Mm-hmm. But if you cannot do it, if you're just like, I don't want to do this anymore, I've burnt out, I need to do something new, repetition creates burnout, then change.
Speaking of that, I think a great example would be Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Because, right, the initial start of the show was amazing. You had good writing, good acting, good everything. Mm-hmm. And you saw that kind of deplete over time until we got to the last season where it was just, they like jerked off on the screen.
Yep.
And we're like, here you go, everybody. And so I think that's what happens when you start to force the project and there's no passion left, is you start at this point where everyone's like, wow, this is amazing. And it gets to the point where it feels like they're like, all right, we have to do this, but we really don't want to. Here you go. And everybody saw it. And you're like, where this doesn't make any sense. The writing's not good. You can tell the actors just want to move on. Mm-hmm. And like, just the passion isn't there. And, some people are like, oh, it's still good. But, the vast majority of people are like, you can see that there's no soul left in the project.
Yeah, dude.
And I think I used to think that with even my machinimas. People be like, "Oh, I want more machinimas, more machinimas," and I'd be like, it's getting annoying. Everyone just keeps asking that, and I want to move on. And then I realized, actually, that's actually really cool because it means that what I was doing for so long, people enjoyed enough that they want more of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, would I rather, force myself to do that and then hit a point where nobody wants any more machinimas because I'm so bad at it now?
Yeah.
So it's like you'd rather, go out on top. And, I might still make a machinima here and there. Like I still want to do a couple.
Mm-hmm.
But, compared to when I used to make one a week or one every other week, like that's, probably not going to happen again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. Like, you don't, like if you started forcing machinimas, or I mean, even me, if I started forcing machinimas, people will say what I have seen, because I have forced machinimas. I'll use myself as an example now. I have forced machinimas over like the past like 6 months. I'll release one like once every month, every 2 months. And people will say like, oh, these aren't as good. Like, oh, there's not as much passion. Oh, like the jokes aren't as funny, or maybe you're like reusing an old joke, or like blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you said, why end on a low note? Like if you're going to end on a high note. So,
yeah.
And that's not like, I mean, I know some of you guys listening to this are thinking like, oh yeah, you're just kind of like, oh, it's just Nixxiom and Crendor talking about their YouTube woes. But I guarantee you that at some point, you listening are going to deal with something very similar. Whether it's a job, a relationship, anything. You never know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is it could be anything. It doesn't have to be just YouTube. It could be, like you said, a job, a relationship, a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Like it can be anything. And I mean, there's plenty of reasons that can impact that too. Like I know when I was going through all my health issues, that doesn't help because you're so focused on your health and being like, I want my stomach to feel better, my gallbladder to stop hurting and all, or my, to get my body in shape. And so it's, that can kind of take its toll on you too and kind of demotivate you.
Mm-hmm.
But I've noticed that ever since even I started exercising more and going to the gym and working out, it actually helped a lot just with my mood.
Mm.
And
definitely.
I would just recommend that for everyone to do anyway, just to be healthy and kind of take care of your body, because that'll help your motivation just in general for everything.
Yeah. I, as a final note, because we're almost at our hour mark here.
Yeah.
I have found that even today, I actually encountered this. I'm keeping a journal of like everything that I do throughout like the day. Just to like see like, okay, like this is where I do really good. This is where I do kind of bad when it comes to motivation and staying focused and blah, blah, blah. And I went down to my mother's house today to pick up my dog because she was watching her while I was camping. And on the way back, I stopped and I got McDonald's for food. And I ate it. And it was me and my friend. We just had lunch together. And then as soon as I got home, I was just so tired. And I had all this energy in the morning, like, going to the park, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast. And like I was on fire. I was getting like so much stuff done. And then suddenly I was just exhausted. I was like, oh, I just want to lay down. Then I ended up taking like a 4-hour nap, and I woke up like 2 hours ago. And it's kind of shocking to me just how much like the things you eat and like the activity levels that you have like really affect you, like creatively, discipline wise, whatever. Because I remember one of my recent most productive days that I've had was the day that I went mountain biking for the first time in like a long time. Like went out in the woods, burning fucking hot. I mean, I was dying, and rode the bike around a little bit, and I was exhausted when I got home, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then it was just like my mind was just on fire, and just got a lot of stuff done.
Hell yeah.
So, yep. But yep, all right. Any concluding thoughts other than the fact that this episode of the Two Nerds podcast was sponsored by Crendsloth.com and the Nixxiom Corner Store? Links down in the description below.
I love those websites.
Yes. You know what I also love?
What?
When Crendsloth.com prints their damn sloth sweatpants. That way I can send it to my girlfriend. I
Friendsloth.com prints in a fashionable, orderly manner, and you will receive your items soon, TM.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, fun fact, my lady friend really likes Crendor's sloth sweatpants. Like, she really likes them. Who doesn't? Exactly. So she was like, please buy me a pair of sloth sweatpants. Never has seen a single WoW Crendor video other than Cat, those videos. But she's like, dude, I don't even care. I just love that little sloth. And so she's like, please buy me a pair of sloth sweatpants. And I was like, all right.
Now I'll make cloth sweatpants.
So I did. What?
I said now I'll make some cloth sweatpants.
There you go.
I actually wear my sloth sweatpants like 3 times a week. So I have 3 pairs. I have one with the sloth, one with the sloth wearing the sweatpants, and one with neither sloth on them that I had for like testing the product. And I just wear them because I'm like, well, I mean, they're the same pants. So I wear the 3 sweatpants, and they're great. I'm wearing mine right now. These ones have the naked sloth.
I wear my my own merchandise shirts every now and then. Like, probably, well, because I do a lot of recording, I probably wear like my own merch probably like 4 times a week. Like, I'll wear like one of my shirts. We actually, over here at Nixxiom HQ, Nixxiom Inc., I have 3 new shirt designs that are coming out soon, 2 of which are done. Like, they're ready to go. The third one is still like in the process of being created, like art-wise. All I'm doing right now is, like, in the meantime, while the artist finishes shirt number 3 or design number 3, I have the samples being sent to my house for like the 2 images that I have so far. Because something that I do is, if I upload something on, let's say, Teespring, I order a sample of it because I want to make sure it doesn't look like ball sack before I like actually make it like live and say, hey, you know, check this out. So I really think, it's there's one design. I think Crendor knows what I'm talking about because I linked it to him before the podcast. It's probably going to be the best seller.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, because I've shown it to a few people and they've just been like, oh my God, dude, like I don't even play WoW and I'll buy that. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been under the impression that, like, if you're gonna sell something, you should, like, I don't know, you should wear it and you should be proud of wearing it.
Exactly.
So, like, when I picked these out, I was like, dude, these are like the softest sweatpants. And sure, they were like some expensive sweatpants, but I was like, you know what? I wanna try selling some really high quality sweatpants and see if people like them, and people have loved it.
Good.
And so I was like, you know, if people see something that's good quality, right, I think they'll respond well to it and be like, hey, you know what? This dude's not trying to screw me over. He's wearing these pants. He knows they're soft. He likes them a lot. So, like, you know, you gain people's trust.
Exactly.
And, you know, me, I'm just trying to make comfy shit I can wear.
Mm-hmm. Yep, there's a reason why I wear all my own merch, like in all the videos that I make. Most of them, like 99% of my videos these days, I'm wearing one of my like merch shirts or something. I'm just genuinely wearing my own stuff, especially that Life is Overrated shirt. I love that shirt.
Yeah, I know.
It's so cool. But yeah, man.
And yeah, it's also, we've also got t-shirts up now. Some are sold out, but some are still there, and we also got some hoodies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we had a backlog we found, so we're trying to get rid of that.
Nice.
Old merch.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Well, maybe we'll make an episode talking about merch here pretty soon. How about that?
That'd be a good topic. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right, Nerd Nation. I like it. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe the comments don't like it, but I like it. All right, nerdy ass nation. I think we'll call it here.
All right.
You all right?
Ooh.
Huh?
I was rolling dice in my hand and one fell out and hit the bell.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard that. Like, ding.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I'll give you another roll.
All right.
661.
Nice. That's excellent.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Nice. All right. Well, let's see. Outro. Thank you all for watching or listening. Leave a comment down below if you have any ideas for like future episodes, topics that you want to hear our thoughts on, whatever, because we are looking at the comments. Hopefully you don't mind our ramblings about this, that, values, whatever. And good talk. Really nice talk. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So I'll let you do the whatever you want to say and then give us our final word. Okay?
All right. Well, thank you very much for listening. Avoid that burnout. Go for a walk. Change up your space. Don't get repetitive. And, take a little risk to go on that trip or do that thing or start that project.
That's right.
And, yeah. So, thank you very much. And see ya.